Welcome to the Germinate podcast, where agriculture, business, and innovation take root and thrive. I'm Joe Sampson, and with nearly 2 decades of experience in agricultural equipment and scaling businesses, I'm here to bring you actionable insights, inspiring stories, and strategic advice. Whether you're an industry veteran or just starting out, this podcast is your guide to cultivating ideas, expanding your knowledge, and growing your venture. So let's get started and germinate your path to success. I got Marc Adams with me with GBGI. How are we doing, Marc?
Good, Joe.
Good, man. Well, first off, just tell everybody about yourself and a little background and how you got started and all that good stuff.
Sure. So, like Joe said, I'm Marc Adams with GBGI. I am the VP of Sales here right now. I've been working for the company a little over 12 years, and it's crazy to think about, but I actually started fresh out of college. Job looked interesting. I wanted to get into sales, was interested in agriculture, and just so happened to be in the town that my wife and I moved to. Other than that, I literally had no background in agriculture whatsoever. Jumped right into a role on the assembly line to actually start to learn the products before I ever went out, even for sales training. And I do work with Pete Casamento directly with the owner of the company. So I spent about 6 months on the assembly line and then started into sales, and never really looked back. I loved the industry and just continued growing within the company.
That's crazy that you started on the assembly line. It's also kind of crazy. You're not GBGI, for those listening, is in Chardon, Ohio, but you're not from there. I always thought you were from there.
I'm actually from about an hour and 15 minutes south in Louisville, Ohio. It's about 15 minutes east of the Football Hall of Fame.
Oh, okay. Okay.
Yeah.
Gotcha. So back up a little bit. You go to college, you play baseball in college, right?
Yeah. Malone University, right there in Canton, literally right next to the Football Hall of Fame.
So you get offers to play baseball in college, or you knew you were going here right off the bat? I don't think I've heard this story.
Yeah. Actually, I had a few offers, a few bigger offers to play at like West Virginia and whatnot, but I don't know. Selfishly, I wanted to play, and I wasn't sure what opportunity I'd have at a bigger school like that.
Yeah.
So at the time, I think Malone was NAIA, and then we ended up being Division II. But anyways, the head coach at Malone was actually from my hometown, Louisville. And so he recruited me pretty heavily. And I came into a pretty good situation because I played outfield, and they were graduating 2 of the 3 outfielders, and I felt like I was good enough to compete for a spot right off the bat. So that's kind of why I chose to sign there, and it did work out. I ended up getting to play all 4 years.
Nice. There's something about athletes, because I played high school sports. I mean, I wasn't good enough to go to college, but still, the mentality, seriously, man, like the mentality that I learned back in those days still drives me today. I mean, I still see myself like, riding the bench is sort of like not getting the sale. You want to, want to go out there and get the sale. You want to be the starter. You want to compete. It's similar. It's similar situations that we all put ourselves in. There's a lot of probably former athletes that do what we do.
Oh, absolutely. And it's funny you mentioned that, because I used to line on Pete all the time. Denzel Washington's line, and remember the Titans. I tell him, I said, I'm a winner. I'm going to win. That's just how it's gonna work.
Yep. I hear you, man. That's a line that I say quite often too. There's I don't know. Maybe this is probably not true. I'll probably get in trouble for saying this, but it's hard to find winners anymore. And you're definitely one of them, man. I mean, backing up our relationship, I think I've known you since you started at GBGI. It's hard to believe it's 12 years, but I think I pretty much met you right off the bat. And something about our connection right away was, we just knew we were going to be buddies and knew we were going to be, we had similar interests, similar things in common. And so look at us now. Here we are recording a podcast. Crazy. We'll go back to GBGI here. You said, okay, I graduate college. I knew I wanted to get into sales. So kind of an interesting thing you did was go work on the assembly line, which is super rare. I mean, tell us why. Is that strategic? Was that Pete? Was that you?
I'll be completely honest. When that happened, 3 or 4 days in, when I'd go home freaking dead tired, I was like, what did I get myself into?
Right.
Now, fast forward 12 years, I think it's one of the best things that ever happened to me. And I thank Pete for it all the time, because I really don't think that there's a better way, especially if you're stepping into a role where you don't know the industry, you don't know the products. I don't
Yeah.
think there's a better way to actually learn the ins and outs of the products and the ins and outs of the company than to have to put it together from the ground up. And yeah, I literally, when I interview people for sales jobs here now, I tell them that I'll always take that mentality, and I tell guys up front, you're gonna do some. We don't want to scare them. I say light assembly work, but we expect them out on the line, because that's the only way that you can learn not only the products, but what makes our products different.
Yeah. And, when you're out in the field talking and trying to sell your products, there's never just a canned question like,
Right.
okay, where are your products made? I mean, you get that, but it's always something different from each different customer that you're talking to. It could be unique on this dimension or that dimension, and you learn that from the ground up, which is super rare, man. Most people are like, well, I don't know what that dimension is, let me find out for you. And you're going, I can tell you what that dimension is because
Right.
I put it on the part.
Right. Right.
That's pretty cool, dude. That's a super good lesson that everybody should be taking, is start in the floor, start on the factory so you understand it and learn it. That's the only way to sell something. If you believe in
That's
it,
right.
yeah, you'll figure it out. So tell us a little bit about GBGI. What is GBGI? Why is it called GBGI, by the way? Do you know? I've never asked you guys that question.
It's an acronym, and it stands for Great Beaver Goes Industrial. And the reason why is the Casamento family that started it. They're Italian, and in Italian, the beaver is hardworking. So that's all it is. And if
No
you look at our
kidding.
logos, it's a little beaver with a hard hat on.
Dude, I've never noticed that before, but
Yeah,
that's so wait, what is it? Great Beaver goes what?
goes industrial.
Goes industrial. Okay. Nice. Nice. That's crazy. So yeah, obviously I know Pete Casamento as well. So tell us, like I said, tell us about GBGI. Tell us a little bit about Pete and the family and how it works and all that good stuff. So
Sure. So basically, I'll just start from the beginning. Pete started the company. He started working for his dad, and what he did initially, actually out of school as well, when he started for his dad, is he got involved within agriculture, actually from the steel mills. They were manufacturing seals for the steel mills. They were the big V rings, and it was all based around preventing bearing failure. And so that was with his dad's company, and he kind of went from there and wanted to start his own company with the help of his dad. And literally they got into agriculture because it's obviously a caustic environments.
yeah.
And they looked at sealing solutions for all the shortcomings across the entire industry. So not just tillage and seeding equipment at that point, but it was the tractors, planters, you name it. And kind of the way that all got started, and started GBGI as a full-blown machine and assembly operation, is he actually started with Case IH. They prevented some bearing failure in some of their assemblies. I believe it was up in Saskatoon. They worked with that plant. And he knew one of the engineers up there real well. And the guy said, hey, why don't you guys invest in machinery? Just machine these entire assemblies for us, assemble them, and send them up with your seals in them. So he went ahead and invested in a few CNC machines, started machining for Case IH, and kind of the rest is history. Like it took off with all of the sealing concepts that he and his dad came up with. But then as we started machining, and they started calling on a lot of the short line OEs that we deal with today. Yeah, it really took off, and he started investing in more machinery, and obviously in presses and whatnot for the assembly department. So today, GBGI is a full-on machine through complete assembly operation. We bring in all of our bar stock, all of our castings, all comes from stateside steel suppliers, stateside casting suppliers. We machine everything here in-house on our CNC machines. A few of them are robotic cells. And then what we kind of pride ourselves on is we try to take all the variables out of the customer's hands. What that means is we're doing the complete assembly. So as it comes off the machines, we have all the bearings in-house, all the seals, all the nuts, bolts, cotter pins, you name it. We work direct with the bearing manufacturers. We preload the bearings. We do all the torquing in-house. We do all the greasing in-house. And we ship a complete assembly to the customer ready to bolt up to the machine. And so kind of with that, we started 7 or 8 years ago now an aftermarket side of the business, which we were being pushed to do. I think it was 2014. We really hit a slowdown. And at that point, we were kicking around the idea of starting something with the aftermarket, but you always kind of got to be conscious that you're selling parts to the OE, and they obviously don't want you selling their components to any of the distributors out there. So we were like, what could we do that's a little bit different? And one of the big areas that we decided to focus on, because we just knew and heard from all over the industry that there was problems, was the disc openers. And we basically tore apart the disc openers, kind of looked at what everybody was complaining about and said, okay, it's 90% of it is tolerances. So we took our OE mentality into the precision machining. We started machining cast housings to put on these disc openers. And what we did with that is we began to go dealer direct. We didn't want to be just a typical distributor that sold to anyone. We were like, let's sell through the dealers. That kind of worked, kind of didn't. There was some constraints there, but then Precision Planning got a hold of us. As you know, they have 500 plus dealers across the US and Canada.
Yep.
And as we got in with these dealers, they literally started picking our brains and saying, well, you guys are a machine operation. Here's all the other shortcomings on these planter row units. What can you do to help us fix these problems? So going back, clear back to my time on the assembly line, this also, that was a complete learning curve. We got into this and we started, we now not only had our OE side, but we've grown it into an aftermarket side, and we began selling something that really we didn't know a whole lot about.
Yeah.
And so again, it was kind of back to the drawing board, and you learn by standing in front of the machine and the product.
Yeah. I mean, I look at you guys as super opportunistic. It's almost as if, you're always looking to keep your brain open and your ears open. And before you know it, you hear some sort of a problem. And this is sort of the theme on this podcast so far, to be honest with you, is there's problems all over the place, and it's up to us to find those solutions. And it sounds like that's exactly what you're talking about. Like you find an opportunity, and then you chase that down, and then that opportunity led into, it spiraled into a million different things, right? I mean, that's
exactly. Yeah. I mean, it literally, I mean, fixing one problem in the aftermarket, kicking off our aftermarket division of our company. And that's kind of where I was going with just kind of how the company evolved. I mean, turned into literally doubling the company's revenue and size within a few years. And that's kind of what everything within our company is built on now. We're not selling, even in the aftermarket, it's not an off the shelf solution. So everything that we're doing for our OEs, custom designed. We're trying to machine and assemble and work on the sealing concepts to meet their needs and fix the problems that they are having, that they're seeing in whatever environment they're in. That's also what we're doing on the aftermarket side. Even though we're selling fixes, that we do stock a lot of components, it never stays stagnant, because you got to stay on top of the game. We can engineer anything to make it better, but at the end of the day, there's always somebody else that's looking at a bigger loophole and where they could take advantage of the market next.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, you're right. And that's it's a super interesting approach and super intelligent way to kind of just keep driving business forward. I think you just said something there, that you got to stay on top of the game. And You're spot on, man. It's a forever changing market. I mean, I think back in my career in this industry, what was popular in the early 2000s is almost extinct now. And I
Yeah.
mean, it's not that long ago. It's not like I'm friggin',
Right.
I'm not ancient. And what's going to be popular in 10 years is probably going to be almost extinct today. So staying on top of that. And, what's some of the approaches you guys take for, I don't know if I want to call it R&D, but I think that's probably what it's called. Just to make sure you're staying on top of the game.
Yeah, definitely. So number one, you got to take advantage of slowdowns. And everybody
Yeah.
wants to complain, but let's be honest, all of us could see the last few years that this was coming. It's how you take advantage of it and come out on the other side. So number one, you got to be ready to take every opportunity you can when the market's a little soft and you have the time to do the R&D work. Number two, I think it's getting in front of your customers, listening to what their frustrations are, and taking the time to actually dive into that and see if it's something that, number one, fits your business plan. You don't want to put your foot in a pot that is outside of your capabilities.
Right.
And it's hard to do that, especially when you have a slowdown. I mean, you obviously want to get as much business as you can. You got to kind of focus. You got to have tunnel vision somewhat on, okay, this is what we're good at. We know this
Yeah.
is what we're good at. And you got to focus on the areas that you can succeed and ultimately help your customers to succeed.
Yeah. Gosh, man, that's a doozy too. I love it. You're right. You got to focus on what you're good at. And it is easy in these times to, the word diversification is coming up a lot these days. Cause it's like
Yeah.
the egg world is very up and down. When it's up, it's great.
Yep.
When it's down, it's down. And
Yep.
so let's diversify. Let's try to find a way for some sort of a diversification, but you nailed it. It's got to fit within your plan, or otherwise you're over here focusing on something that, may or may not have legs, when in the reality of the slowdowns, if you focus on trying to, perfect operations, maybe
Yep.
you're not outsourcing everything you need to outsource. Maybe you're growing your market share by picking up other dealers or picking up other parts or whatever it is for you guys. Versus over here, you're going, yeah, but we want to make cell phones because we hear they're popular right now, or whatever it is. Is
Yep.
that sort of what you're talking about? That's the approach you guys take.
Yeah. And then another thing, and this is really hard, obviously, during a slowdown, but and I give Pete credit. You got to invest in your company too. You don't. We put in new machinery. We obviously are doing a lot of things with robotic cells now and automation, and the time to work on that stuff is not when it's balls to the wall and you
Mm-hmm.
got to get product out the door. And here you're trying to set up robotic cells and train somebody on it and hire to keep stuff staffed. That's not the time to do that. Now is the time to do that.
Yeah.
And it's hard to do. It's easier said than done because you don't want to tie up your cash flow. But if you don't do it now, you're not going to be set up for the future when you actually need it.
Yeah. There's two almost universal truths in our industry. One, there's going to be a slowdown. And two, that slowdown is not going to last forever. And
Right.
then I guess maybe three is when you are experiencing a surge, it's going to slow down again. So
That's right.
you've got to prepare yourself and brace yourself for all those peaks and valleys. And it sounds like you guys you're nailing it. I mean, it's exactly what you need to do to, dare I say, survive and weather these storms, and then be prepared for when, hey, the sun's coming out again. It's go time. Let's go
Right.
out there and kill it. Let's go be the winner that we hired Marc Adams to be,
Right.
What are you seeing as far as, I don't know, trends in the industry today that you maybe didn't notice when you first got in the industry? Is there certain patterns you look at? I mean, are you a commodity price guy? Are you a steel market guy? What's your thoughts there?
I I guess I look a lot at the steel market because we do buy a lot of steel. But as far as commodity prices go, for us on the OE spectrum of it plays a lot bigger role. And I say the OE, not that it doesn't affect our dealers, because it definitely does. Most of those guys are farmers.
Sure.
However, when those prices are low and interest rates are high, they're not trading in their machinery, which is why we started this aftermarket sector of the business. Because what are they going to do then? They're going to rebuild what they have in the shed. So that's what we focused on. So for us, it's kind of everything. Like, we have to look all across the industry, because now when interest rates drop and prices go up, obviously guys are going to be looking to buy new again. So it kind of goes back and forth for us.
Well, you kind of have the best of both worlds there. You're
Right.
taking advantage of both situations. And that seems to be the US market, or really the global ag market over the course of the last, I'm going to say 10 years, is the ebbs and flows of the commodity price, along with other commodity prices outside of just the three major grain crops. I mean, you're talking oil and some of those things that really do everything is it almost seems everything's connected these days. Oil, steel prices, and clearly you guys are using a lot of steel, and you guys are focused on commodity prices. And when you have the best of both worlds, I mean,
Yeah.
sky is the limit there. Uh, what kind of things do you look for as far as collaborations and partnerships that you see in the future for maybe yourself, for GBGI? What kind of things can help you? And I bring this up because I think this industry has a lot of intelligence, a lot of knowledge, a lot of experience that the theme I'm using is we're better together. So what are you
Right.
guys kind of looking at as collaboration wise, partnership wise for the future, and how to help, how to assist, all those things?
Yeah, definitely. One of the things that we look at, and you know, it, it's really helped us out a lot the last few years, is collaborations with other machine shops. We use a lot local, but I mean, we're constantly looking all over the place for guys that kind of have the same mindset of us as us, that are focused on agriculture. They've done it before. That when you do have these booms and you don't have the capacity, you got guys that you can count on that can help you out, and then you also return the favor.
Yeah.
So definitely, so that's one of them. But then also suppliers in general, in terms of, I mean, whether it's disc blades, whether it's castings, um, to me, like, yeah, you have your core suppliers, but you got to keep your options open, because you never want to shut a door on someone. It's just, that's the stuff that we're looking at.
Yeah, I hear you. I definitely hear you. Talk about your kind of sales strategy, because you call on OEMs, which are very niche in our industry. There's not a lot of them.
Right.
So it might be easier. I shouldn't say easier to build those relationships, but you have they're longer sales cycles, and so you get a little bit more time from, versus you also call on dealers where you might be in and out. I mean, it's a quick
Yeah.
hitter, but are you still the guy focused on relationships and partnerships, or do you think sales is going to go to AI and there's going to be no need for somebody like me and you someday?
I am focused on relationships and partnerships for sure. I can just tell you, I don't care how far down the AI line it goes. I don't think that'll ever change for me, because, like, you hit the nail on the head. Obviously, all of us that are involved with the OEs, we're going to continue to visit our OEs just like we always do. I mean, there's
Yeah.
a collaboration. You got to go through forecasting. It's just, that'll always be there. But one of the big things for us that we've learned, especially with dealing with these dealers direct, like you said, I can go there the first time and it can be a 5-minute call. The guy's like, no, we already stocked on disc blades and parallel linkage and all that, and not give you the time of day. And kind of the way I hit it, by the way, let me back up a little bit, is
Yeah.
I look at my territory. I obviously set up my OE meetings every single time that I'm there. I'm going to visit those guys, but I try to get to every single one of my dealers that I can possibly get to as well, because just that simple check in, even if it's only a few minutes, them seeing your face and realizing, oh, yeah, that's GBGI. They're making planter row unit wear parts. The guy can have a part sitting on his table, and if I walk in at the right time and he's like, man, this guy just came in and he needs all new parallel linkage. Well, right there, you can have a planter's worth of a sale just because you walk through the door. And that's kind of how it works. Now, it's not easy. It's time consuming for sure. But those dealers also appreciate that. And furthermore, the one thing that they like to see above anything else is that you're going to stand behind the product and support them. And I tell all my dealers that a little more so now that I'm a little more comfortable with the products. But, if you have a grower that has a question, if he's having assembly issues, give them my phone number. They know we're not ever going to sell grower direct. We're not set up that way. We don't want to be set up that way.
Yeah.
But I tell them, if you're having trouble answering a question, give me a call, have them give me a call. We'll walk them through it.
Ultimately, you're right. The grower is the customer in the end.
Yeah, regardless of who you're selling to.
Yeah, it really doesn't matter, because in the end, those are the guys and gals that are using the parts that you're making. And they're also the ones that are providing the feedback for how to make it better, how to tweak this, how to tweak that to improve that. So if you're not listening to them, I mean, you're missing out on all those opportunities.
For sure. And it's funny you mention that, because it almost all of the planter clinics that I do, because we'll go and do clinics for these dealers when they ask us to, and we'll talk to the growers and explain our product. But I tell all the growers, when I get up and speak in front of them, we owe what we get to you guys, because ultimately, if it wasn't for the growers bringing the shortcomings of the OE parts to the dealers, we don't have a business. I mean, we can, without hearing about these things or seeing them, which 99% of the time is a grower bringing it to a dealer's attention, we have no idea what's failing and why it's failing or where.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, you brought up clinics. I think that's important too. And I think touch on this a little bit, but you guys do dealer clinics. You're involved with other organizations as well. Talk a little bit about the clinics, the organizations that you're involved with, and why you think they're so vital and important for, the success of you and GBGI moving forward.
Yeah. So the clinics are all dealer based. So basically what we tell our dealers is, right now, we got a pretty small sales force. It's myself and Pete pretty much on the road. Every once in a while, we'll have an engineer or two go out. But we basically tell them at the beginning of the year, because basically from mid-December on up until planting is when guys are having clinics, and it's basically all focused on planter maintenance and then technology of the planter, which for us is huge. So we tell them, hey, if you guys want us there to support our products, or give you support on our products, I should say, we'd be happy to go. We get to as many as we possibly can, where we bring the products, we bring literature on the products, and it's a great time for the grower themselves to walk up and get to put their hands on our products, and then also on the OE products, so they can see firsthand why it's different and why we believe it to be better and why we think it's going to solve some problems for them.
Yeah. And you get that instant feedback too. It's right there. You're on, boots on the ground, so to speak. It's right there. And there's that instant feedback where you can take and say, awesome. I would have never got this had I not been at this clinic. Yeah.
Sure.
What about other organizations? I'm leaning towards one that you know of. You're pretty active in.
Oh yeah. Yeah. That's what I was going to touch on next. So Farm Equipment Manufacturers Association has been huge for us. I think we're over 10 years of membership now or so. And there's always a spring and a fall clinic. I'll call it a clinic, a show, whatever you want to call it, where everybody gets together. I also sit on the supplier board of governors for that organization. But in terms of just networking alone and making contacts within the industry, in my mind, and from what I've seen from all the organizations that we've been a part of, there's really, it's top notch. There's nothing better. You can't be in a better place. There's even competitors there that it's nice to get to talk to those guys as well. Like, yeah, they're your competitor, but we get together at those places, and it's kind of nice to hear what everybody's going through. We're all in this together, basically.
Yeah,
at the end.
There's the better together plan again. You're exactly. I was talking to somebody earlier today, and he was like the network, specifically the FEMA network. FEMA, we call it for short, which we always get knocked for. It's not that FEMA, it's the other FEMA. But he was like, it's a small group, but it's mighty. And I think
Yeah.
that's the best description of FEMA right there. They are that organization. And if you're involved with it, it's not like there's hundreds of thousands of members, but the ones that are active and that are members, we pack a powerful punch, you know, and you're clearly proof to that. I mean, you've been, not only were you guys members, but you chose to get active with FEMA. What
Mhm.
was your thought process there?
Well, I kind of figured I was attending every single conference, and I'd kind of seen. Well, obviously, you were active on the board. You and I talked quite a bit,
Yep.
but then a few other of our suppliers, and then also our OE customers had kind of urged me to get active. And when I did, it was amazing because the one thing that I will say that we have gotten that was just crazy since I joined that board, we found so many great suppliers within that FEMA network that I mean, I really truly don't feel like we'd ever made as many connections as we did.
Yeah.
I mean, just in the last year alone, I think we picked up 3, maybe 4 great suppliers. I mean, they're great suppliers for us that have gotten us out of a lot of trouble at times.
Yeah.
And it all came from conversations that we had at FEMA, whether that's walking around the supplier showcase or whether I'm walking out of a board meeting and somebody pulls me off to the side or having a drink down at the bar. I mean, you name it. There's so many avenues to make connections there at those conferences.
Yeah, you truly feel like, once you do make a connection, it expedites the process to become a partner that much more through the FEMA organization. And I think, you're spot on. I have the exact same mentality towards that organization. It packs a punch. And those of you guys that are listening to this that aren't involved with FEMA, definitely check it out. And, shoot me an email, shoot Mark an email. We'll get you hooked up for sure, because both of us
Yeah.
are pretty active on the board. And actually, Mark's going to be taking over my spot on the regular board someday. I don't know if we should publicize this, but heck with it. Why not? Let's do it. What about dealer clinics and FEMA about it? Are you guys involved with any other organizations or have heard any that are decent out there?
Yeah, there's a few. I believe I can't remember if we're still a part of AMC or not, but that's a pretty decent organization. We haven't been as involved. Probably should get more involved in that because we do sell a lot up into Canada.
Yeah, just so you guys know, that's the organization, the FEMA of Canada. Really, I think it's the Association of Manufacturers of Canada. Yeah.
Right.
Okay. Nice. Well, we're winding her down there, friend. 30 minutes goes by in quickly, doesn't it? Doesn't take long.
It does.
Now, I guess we'll kind of close off here. Tell us about how you wind down, what you do to get revved up for work. What's your routine? Are you into anything? Are you cold plunging? Are you saunaing? I know you're a workout guy.
Well,
where are
right
we
now
at
I
these
got
days?
3. Yeah, I got 3 young kids at home right now, so that's
a
another
challenge.
job in itself. But what I try to do, try to work out to blow off some steam. But then, I mean, I'm into sports, obviously, you know that, and then anything with the outdoors, hunting, fishing, camping. It's just you got to get your mind off of a lot, especially with everything that everyone's going through in this industry today. You got to take some time to sit back, and you can't let it just overcome you.
Yeah, you can't help anybody if you can't first help yourself. That's the truth. And yeah, so routines like that, clearly, I should say clearly, but you and I have been workout guys. There for a while, we got a decent amount of flack for it, but now it seems like everybody works out and everybody's into fitness. And I'm trying to think of any new trends that I've started. I got iron neck. Do you know what an iron neck is?
No.
It's this weird thing you stick on. It looks like these headphones. You stick it on your head, and then it's got a chain. You stick a weight onto it, and then you can kind of do. I don't know. We'll see if it works out. I think I heard Rogan or somebody talking about it. I haven't added much to the. Are you a workout at home guy, or do you go to a gym? Or
I used to go to a gym, but when we moved into our new house, it's been over 5 years now. I've just consistently kind of been picking up the stall mats at Tractor Supply, and I've built my own gym. Basically, we got racks and everything down there now, and bikes and dumbbells and you name it. I just figured it's so much easier for me. I'm honestly not a gym guy anymore unless I have to work out at a hotel.
Yeah.
If I can wake up, do my routine, take my pre-workout and everything, and just head downstairs and go to it, I'm more likely to do it every day than to force myself to get into the car and drive to a gym and
Yeah, I
come
hear you.
home and shower. And
Yep.
yeah.
Me too. Tell us about the three kids and not so much, I know you love them, but what is it about them that gets you going in the morning? And, we've talked in the past about, you more or less, they not only inspire you, but you want to inspire them. So talk about what
Yeah.
it's like to be the dad of three kids.
Yeah. So, I've got Carson now that's almost 7. He's in first grade. Nora's in preschool. And then Weston's only 6 months old. But Carson's getting to the age, obviously, and Nora too, that they're very impressionable. And it's really just showing them that, you need to work hard for everything. And I try to tell them all the time, Dad doesn't like being away from home. I don't like leaving you for work, but we got to do this to put food on the table,
Yep.
and to keep being able to do the things, quite frankly, that we love to do. And that's, we hit on it at the beginning of this. I try to keep my kids involved in athletics because I think that's one of the number one ways to teach them, discipline and responsibility, is to get
Yeah.
them involved in organized sports. But even above all that, we're a family of faith. We really try to hammer home to the kids that anything we do, we don't have anything without Jesus. And so that's kind of one thing that we really try to instill in them and make sure that we're setting good examples. That doesn't mean that I don't come home every once in a while and lose my mind and I'm like, oh my God, I was horrible. But
Yeah.
we're trying to be as strong of as examples as we can. Then the other thing that I try to tell my kids all the time, and in fact, I tell these guys, if somebody's frustrated here in the shop or within the company, I say, listen, we're doing this for all of our families. Like this is why we keep this thing going.
Yeah. Yeah. It's so true. And yeah, you nailed it. Being a man of God as well. And that is a foundation and a worldview in life that will carry you no matter the good days, no matter the bad days. Cause what it does is it does let you know that there is going to be good days and there's also going to be bad days. That's just called life. And with the foundation of God and the foundation of Jesus, we can go, bring it on, world. Let's go.
Yeah.
It's nothing for me. Yeah. Yeah. That's definitely you, man. That's definitely you. Well, you're an impressive fella, man. I'm so grateful to have met you probably 12 years or so ago today. Or not today, but 12 years or so ago. And I appreciate getting to know you. I appreciate continuing to know you. And I know we're going to interact all the time in the future. And dude, I can't thank you enough for taking this ride with me. So
yeah, hey, not a problem. I appreciate it, Joe. As always, I mean, it's been great. I can't thank you enough for everything that we've been able to accomplish together and then everything that's to come.
Amen, brother. Let's leave it at that. And if everybody wants to get a hold of GBGI or Mark, tell them how to get in touch with you.
Yeah. So gbgiusa.com is our website. My email is Marc, that's MARCA at gbgiusa.com. And then also, if you call the office, it gives you a list of extensions. GBGI phone number 440-285-3840.
Rock and roll. All right, guys, check out GBGI. And till next time, ladies and gentlemen, Marc Adams. Can't thank you enough, buddy.
Yeah. Thanks, Joe.
Hey, folks, thanks for tuning into the Germinate podcast. If you found value in today's episode, be sure to subscribe, leave a review, and share it with others in the industry. And join me next time as we continue to explore the innovations and strategies shaping the future of agriculture and business. Until then, keep growing, keep innovating, and keep germinating your success.